This video is a continuation from the previous video. Okay, so faces are supposed to look into the middle of the composition and not look off the edge as a rule. However, the face is trapped in the corner of the composition, which creates tension that sets the emotion of the composition. And this is a doll head. And you can see it's broken. And there's light inside. And behind is another face of another doll. And it creates this sense of tension because this doll is now trapped and this one is behind it. And it really creates this eerie, emotional fear. And that was the goal, was to capture fear in a very abstract sort of way. Well, I don't know what happened to that photo. Do it sometimes, they disappear. I'm not sure why. So if you have no subject, you're just doing abstractions, know that as long as you apply balance, unity, and all the other principles and elements, abstract images work very well. They provoke a sense of mystery and interest in the composition. And I don't even know what photo I had there. So here's one, for instance. There's no unity at all, right? I've completely violated the principle of unity, but it works because there's proper balance, right? Also, it makes it more disturbing because it's off kilter, because it's not unified. Nothing is unified. The colors are different. The objects are different. Everything is disturbing. And that was the intention, right? It's meant to be disturbing. And you do that by breaking the rules, but following other rules so that it still is a good composition. So color contrast makes that composition work. You know, the black and white version is pretty flat. It lacks interests. So your color can be a focal point in your subject if it's applied using the principles of design, right? This worked. The color changed everything. This is dry tortugas in off Key West. It's just, this works compositionally. This bottom photo that's black and white, but what really makes that shot is the color. And then photography is also about taking a shot no one has ever seen before. Your goal is always to shoot something that has never been shot before. Always. Every photo, every new photo, you're taking a photo that no one has taken before. How do you do that? Okay, one thing you can do is avoid eye-level shots. That's what most people do. Most people walk up to something and they take the photo eye level. So don't do that. Get down on the ground. Get high up. Go behind something. Change your perspective. And that's really one great way, by changing your perspective. One of my favorites is, and I don't think I have it in this class, I think I teach this in 1000, is there's a photo of people playing basketball, and some great shots people taken, but the best one, someone got under the net and looked up as someone else was taking a shot. Great photo. And it's not something most people would normally see, because most people are watching the game from the sidelines. So change your perspective, and that makes it easier to take a photo no one's seen before. And this one, I thought, oh yeah, I wasn't close enough. The idea was to show that here's this trash can, and there was still all this garbage on the ground, and I thought I had gotten closer to that. So it really needed some trash closer to the foreground to kind of lead the eye in and back to make that a better shot. This was Florida, somewhere in Florida. Look for something that's about to happen and then take a lot of shots to capture the right one. That bird was bathing in the water in that beautiful morning light, and I just kept taking pictures of him until he finally did that, and that is a terrific photo. All the other photos weren't so great. And there's even water dripping off of his, I don't know if you can see it, there's water dripping off of his bill, and he's spraying water everywhere, and there's little droplets of water everywhere. And great shot that only happened because I knew something was about to happen, and I pointed my camera, focused, and then just started shooting until I got a good shot. I probably have 100 shots of this bird And that is the only good one. Or maybe two. Photograph things that other people overlook or even try to avoid. Try to find beauty in things that are not considered beautiful. That is a dead catfish that had washed up on shore. And he was near some sea plant kelp. And the colors, right? You've got the yellow, the red, and the blue are very beautiful. But, he had flies buzzing all around him and he smelled bad and everybody's walking around it. And I was like, well, people are walking around it. I'm going to find a way to photograph it. It's not bad. It's not a great photo, but I think it still achieved what I wanted it to, which was that I took something gross and turned it into something beautiful. It needed some work. I should have used a greater depth of field. This shouldn't have been out of focus. It would have made it a better shot. Also, I think if I could have found a seashell or something to put in here, that would have made it more interesting. Get close. There is a butterfly habitat in Florida, and I have a macro lens on my camera, and I shot a picture of this butterfly, and notice there's also an ant in here. But look at the detail. You can see the detail in the wings. You can see the fur from when he was a caterpillar on his body. You can see his eye. You can see him eating lunch. So get close. A lot of people don't get close, especially to insects. You can use Photoshop. So I walked around to the other side of the butterfly, or this may have been a different one. And I captured this butterfly flying in. And this is a series of multiple shots that I put together to show the butterfly coming in for a landing. And I used Photoshop to do that. Layer your scene with interesting elements and adjust your position to apply principles and elements to the image. And so you can see that is what I've done. This is in South Beach in Miami. There's layers here, the car, the trees, the buildings, the background. And then this one is, right, the blue car and the blue building. And then it's contrasted with the red on the sidewalk and little pops of green and yellow. And so this one is got a very balanced image because of the color and the way it's layered. Exclude distractions. Dale Chihuly did a exhibit at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens, and I zoomed in to get this shot. Excluded everything else around it. Took one it was very, very busy scene, and I zoomed in to get just the detail. Because this is so busy, it didn't need other stuff in the shot to make it busier. It would have been too much. Frame your image to provide more details to your story. So here's the frame, looking in to the guy working in his studio. And what's really cool is the frame has all his tools in the window. So windows make great frames. Helps tell an interesting story. And this is somebody working in a studio. I'm not sure. I don't remember what artist they were. Use post-production techniques to enhance the photo to something no one else can see with the naked eye. Like I took out everything around him that wasn't him and made it black and white. Left him in color, and it created this really great 3-dimension that separated him from the background. Get off the beaten path. So, I said it was missing something? So there we go. I added in a little iguana. There were iguanas running all over that, but I couldn't get close enough to any of them. They all ran off the minute I got close to any of them. And so I put a little iguana in there, and it just made a difference. But so when I said get off the beaten path, this was the path, right? This was the path. And I went off the path behind it. Now be careful. This was allowed. You don't want to get yelled at, or you don't want to step on something you're not supposed to. So when I say get off the beaten path, only do it where you're not violating the park's don't get off the beaten paths rules, because then you can get in trouble, and you don't want to do that. But here I just went behind the rocks and had this, now I had this great place. So I can put this iguana, and now I have a more interesting story. And I also photoshopped out the tourists. I didn't want tourists in this. Okay, shoot when other people are asleep or during inclement weather when people are inside. The lighting can be absolutely magical. This was raining, a rainy day in San Francisco, and the beautiful diffuse light bouncing off these windows just created this metallic, ethereal, glowing, and the colors were just beautiful. And I went up close to the building and I cropped out everything else so that it was just this series. Like, this is a right repetitious, built the exact same thing stacked on top of each other, but broken with another little piece of the building over here to offset it. And so it created a really beautiful shot. Always find a story. Always find a story. I mean, you want to do that no matter what, even when you're not breaking the rules, but find the story. And then here at the train museum, this train's not moving at all, but I got far enough away from it and on the tracks to make it kind of look like it's a ghost train moving, right? And so there's a story here, you know, what's going on. Makes it interesting. So how do you become a photographer rather than just a guy with a camera or a camera app? Practice. No, seriously, that's it. You have to consciously apply the techniques, look for interesting compositions, and then shoot a lot of photos. And when I say a lot of photos, I mean hundreds of photos. A lot of people walk up, take 1 or 2 shots, and call it a day. You're not going to get good at doing that. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. You need to, when you decide you want to shoot a subject, you need to shoot it from multiple angles. You need to shoot multiple shots. You need to think about what you're doing. You need to take a look at the shots you took and say, okay, what else can I do? Right? And this takes hours. Then you should delete everything except your best shots. Then use Photoshop or other software to make them even better. That's how you get good, by investing time into your work. You can't just walk up and take a good photo. You have to take a whole lot of photos. The best photographers take hundreds of photos and then work through them and make sure that they have captured what they want to capture. Questions? So what I'm going to say is this. When you're going through these PowerPoints, write down any questions you have and then email them to me, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. And here is, we're not doing this as a class, but if you want to challenge yourself, practice, this is your lab to do that with. Okay, and we will end this lab here, or I'm sorry, this PowerPoint here. But the main thing to take away from this is that I showed you my work so that you can see that I didn't just walk up and take a picture. I spent hours, years practicing, trying different techniques. I'm the kind of person who will go out and shoot something and then assess my work and go back and shoot it a second time and maybe a third time until I get exactly what I want. And that is one of the main differences between being a photographer and somebody just taking a picture, is that you have an intention to do more than just capture a moment in time, right? A picture is just the capturing of a moment for memory. Photography is intentionally applying principles and techniques, looking for the story, and then presenting it in a way that is fine art. Okay. I'm going to end this here.